What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledPeople. Alright, this story's called Crazy Lady Accuses Me of Kidnapping My Stepson. Tries to kidnap him from me. So this happened about a week ago, and I honestly am still fuming about this. I'm not sure if it belongs in this subreddit, but here goes. First, a little backstory. I'm a mixed ethnicity individual. I've been confused for many races over the course of my 29 years on this planet, but I'm literally Caucasian and African American. Usually it can be figured out, but the difference with me is my father is the Caucasian, so therefore my hair is straight. I'm originally from Texas and am usually confused for being Mexican, but now I live in Massachusetts and I've never had an issue with anyone concerning my race, until this day. Also, I am married to a Caucasian woman who had a child before we were married. His father is not in his life as much, and I took the responsibility because I love this woman and I love this little boy as if he were my own. He's 4 now, and I've been in his life since he was 1. Anyway, on to the story. My wife needed a few things from the grocery store, and she needed to run a few more errands, and usually she just goes and knocks things out herself because I'm asleep. I work nights. But this particular day, I happened to be awake and I offered to go for her. She works hard and does a lot, so I definitely felt it was necessary to do something for her so she could just relax for the day. I took my son with me so she could rest up and just take it easy, and it gave me time to spend with my son for some bonding. We completed all of the errands, which went smoothly, and then headed to the grocery store to finish up our day. My son, being a typical 4-year-old, was full of energy, running ahead of me, laughing and speaking to everyone he comes across, which I generally don't mind as long as he doesn't hit anyone and stays within eye view. As I'm making my way down an aisle looking for canned corn, my son jogs to the end of it when an older lady is entering at the other end. My son, being the sweet, social butterfly he is, approached and exclaims in excited, "Hi, me 4 and me Ryan." Bless his little heart. The lady looked down and says, "Well, hello there. You shouldn't be running around unattended. Let's go find your parents." I didn't think anything of her statement because I assumed she just hadn't seen me. "Ryan, come back here, bud, please." He excitedly runs back toward me and starts turning in circles because, he's 4. I'm still searching the shelves as the lady walks past me and stops behind me. Again, I think nothing of it because it's a grocery store and you have to share the aisles. I turn my basket around and start to walk toward the front cash register when this lady literally blocks my path. I say, "Excuse me," and try to walk around her, and she moves her cart in front of me again. I honestly thought she was just getting confused and said, "Excuse me," once again, and tried one more time to go around, and she just blocks my path. The following conversation ensues. Sorry about that. We'll get out of your way." "Oh, I don't think so. You're not going anywhere with that child." "You mean my son?" "That's not your child. He's white, and you're Mexican. You probably didn't even know his name until he said it to me." "Sure, whatever, lady. Can you just move? My wife is at home and anxiously awaiting us." "Stop your lies. You're not taking him anywhere, you pervert." This whole time, my son is standing close to me, holding my leg because he was honestly getting scared. I was getting angry because I hadn't had much sleep and I have a short fuse anyway. "Thanks, Dad." As you can see, he's standing close to me because he trusts me and you're scaring him. So how about you buzz off? "No, he's scared because of you. He just doesn't know how to express it yet." She looks at my son. "Come now, sweetie. I'm here to rescue you. Come with me." Thankfully, my son was able to communicate to her. He wasn't going anywhere with her. But she was having none of it. She literally grabbed my son and began to run. It caught me off guard because I honestly could not fathom what was actually happening. My son starts screaming loudly because he was so scared, and this lady's just like, "Don't worry, sweetie. He won't hurt you, I promise." Suddenly, I snap back into reality and begin to chase after this crazy wench. While running through the store, I yell for people to stop her and that she's kidnapping my son, and thankfully, a worker stops her before she makes the exit.
"Why are you stopping me? This Mexican here is trying to kidnap my grandson."
My son is literally bawling his eyes out and extending his arms out, calling for me. This lady was relentless and would not let go of my son even after he slapped her face multiple times. I laughed a little, not gonna lie. At this point, a manager shows up and asks what's going on. The lady before me spoke.
"This,"
pointing at me,
"pervert is trying to kidnap my grandson, and I was just trying to escape."
"That's my son, you freaking psycho! Now let him go!" The manager didn't know what to believe. I don't blame him. He was caught in a weird situation. So I pulled out my phone and showed him pictures of me and my son that dated a year or so back as proof. This lady still would not give up and accused me of faking them. Like, how would you do that exactly? I'll never know, but whatever. Sadly, there were two other ladies there taking the psycho side and said I was attempting to kidnap my own son because there was no way we were family because of our different skin tones. One even called the police, which I was actually happy about because I knew they'd be able to review the security cameras. Even still, I called my wife to see if she could come up to the store to get the situation cleared up quicker. As soon as I told her what was going on, she zoomed to the store. She got there about the same time as the police. The crazy ladies were giving their statement to the cops when my wife walked in. As soon as she walked in, my son goes, "Mama, help!" My wife is a true mama bear, and she immediately flew into a rage when she saw this lady holding my son.
"Let him go, now!" "Sorry, sweetie, I was just trying to protect him from this pervert over here." "Yeah, we saw him trying to kidnap him, but this lady saved him."
The cops look at the lady and is confused. "I thought this was your grandson."
"I have no idea who that lady is."
She takes out her phone and shows the officer a picture of my mother-in-law.
"Okay, I'm sorry, he's not my grandson, but I was only trying to protect him from this dirty pervert over here. Yeah, I witnessed the whole thing. He snatched that child and tried to run away with him, but this lady stopped it."
"Yes, I saw it too. He needs to be arrested. And you,"
pointing to my wife,
"should be thankful that this lady was here to stop your son because you obviously just let him loose wherever."
"Who are you talking about again?"
All three crazy ladies pointed at me.
"Oh, you mean my husband?"
"Husband?"
"Yeah, who do you think called me and got me here so fast?"
I presented my ID to the officer and the manager, and my wife did the same. We also each showed pictures of us on our phones to prove we were really a family. The cop nodded in approval and handed us our phones back and jotted down a few notes. The three ladies, for some reason, still kept trying to say this was all fake and my wife was in on the kidnapping and said we needed to be arrested. My wife lost it at this point and let off some colorful words I won't repeat here, but she definitely got her point across. Then the nail in the coffin came for the psycho trio. The officer turned to the manager and asks, "Sir, do the cameras work here?"
"Yes, we have them inside and out."
"Okay, great. Let's go review." The three ladies' faces went pale, like ghostly pale. The officer reviewed the outside camera as I pulled into the parking lot and saw me take my son out of my car, and then as I went up and down the aisles, and most importantly, the instance of the woman snatching up my son and beginning to run. Upon his return, he asks, "Would you like to press charges?"
"Yes, I would."
"Why would I be asking you that question? Shut your mouth and sit down." He turns to me and repeats the question. Absolutely. Lady 1 was charged with attempted kidnapping, false imprisonment, providing a false police report, and child endangerment. The other two were also charged with providing a false police report as well. To make matters worse for Lady 1, my son bruises easily, and she left some terrible spots on him from where she was grasping him. But he's fine. This added a charge of child's mistreatment to her rap sheet. I have court later this year, but I'm not sure when because of Brovid. The officer will be following up with me in a few weeks. Sorry for the length. That was a good story, dude. But also another sad and blatant form of racism, although for the wrong minority, but still. Like, honestly, can a man go shopping with his son without some freaking lady accusing him of kidnapping? Like, that's honestly ridiculous, and I hope OP here doesn't feel worried about going out alone with his kid anymore just because some freaking trio of idiots shows up here and just accuses him of kidnapping his own son out of nowhere and lying about it. Jeez. My dad's a fair bit darker than I am. So my dad, he's from Pakistan, and my mom is like whiter than white. Her entire family, like her grandparents, all that stuff, they were all born in freaking Beaumont, Texas. So yeah, they're white. So my dad was a single dad for a bit, and so he had to take me everywhere with him, and thankfully nothing like this has ever happened because that would have been ridiculous. This story's called... I forgot the word for story for a second. Entitled teacher calls CPS on me because I refuse to talk to her about my mom. Long-time lurker here. I have dealt with my fair share of entitled people, both in school and at work, and have so many stories to tell. But this one is one I remember so vividly. I'm also not a native English speaker, so mistakes may be made. For context, my mom was in and out of the hospital when I was around 10 to 13 years old because of bipolar disorder. And by the time this all went down, when I was 15, my mom was doing better, home, and she was working. So in my final year of secondary school, one of my teachers began pulling me out of class in the middle of lessons, and at first, she just wanted to chat about my grades, which were average. But then she started asking more and more intrusive questions about my mother and her illness, and began to compare my mother's illness to her mother, who apparently had suffered from the same thing, and began telling me sob stories about her childhood. She also began asking me uncomfortable questions about my home life. I didn't say much, just sat there feeling very confused about it all. This happened over the course of 3 months, and eventually I got really sick of her pulling me out of the classroom in the middle of lessons and snapped. I told her to stop pulling me out of classes and to leave me the hell alone. I turn to leave and go back to class. She grabs me by the arm and tells me that if I continue to withhold information, she would have to call the CPS. I told her to call them. They wouldn't find anything and she'd be wasting their time. A few days later, I get called out of the classroom. Not by her, but by my principal, who takes me to her office where a CPS worker, my mom, and my dad are waiting. I realized I already knew the woman. She had been at our house sometimes while my mom was ill. The CPS worker, my parents, and I talked, and she came to the conclusion that everything was fine. But I broke down in tears because the whole situation had been really stressful. My parents were pissed. They demanded to know why the hell this teacher thought it was okay to harass me about something that was none of her business. We never got a proper answer, and the teacher refused to say anything. She stared daggers at me, though. The CPS lady was angry about having her time wasted and demanded some type of action from the principal. The teacher was not allowed to be in a room alone with me anymore, and under no circumstance to take me out of the classroom alone. Eventually, she was moved to another class and later let go for harassment and assault of another student. By the way, I didn't tell my parents because I was a dumb kid thinking I was the one who would get in trouble about it. Okay, so at first I was thinking, oh, the teacher's probably just trying to be there for you, try to help you out. Obviously, the teacher should have asked first and foremost if the kid was comfortable talking about it. And then it just seemed like the teacher it was more for the teacher than it was for the student. And she Oh man, that's just gnarly. Like, my family's had similar issues, none that really affected me given that my parents divorced when I was very, very young, and I grew up with my dad, but my older brother, he definitely faced the brunt of these issues. So it definitely does affect kids, and it does definitely help to have someone there to lend an ear. But you've got to gain that trust. It's not something that's freely given, because if they're having a rocky home life, odds are they don't have the luxury of trusting many people, because they can't even trust their parents. But even that wasn't the case here. The teacher was just kind of being intrusive without doing her due diligence and making sure the student was okay with talking about that kind of stuff, but they obviously weren't. Alright, this lady's called Lady Yells at Me for Giving Husky Heat Stroke. Anyone that knows anything about huskies is that they are double-coated. Their coats are meant to protect them from both heat and cold. Because of this, you shouldn't ever shave a husky except for medical reasons. I just need everyone to understand this before I explain what happened. I have an elderly neighbor. I've been walking her dog Mo for a couple of years now. He's a big, fluffy husky that loves playing with his frisbee. Due to restrictions slowly being lifted, it's safe to take him on walks again. I don't take him far, just to a little baseball field down the road where we can play in a fenced-in area for a bit. The other day, I took Mo out to the field and we were doing our thing. On the other side of the fence are some mailboxes and a car pulled up to them. I was focused on Mo, so I didn't pay attention to the woman that got out of it until she started yelling at me. Here's your cast, there's me,
Entitled lady,
and
sweet neighbor lady.
I had just thrown the frisbee and Mo went after it with a vengeance when Entitled Lady started yelling. When I look over, she's practically climbing the fence. Can I help you?
What do you think you're doing with that poor animal? Do you realize how hot it is? Why haven't you shaved off all that fur? The poor dear's probably dying of heat stroke.
Now, if you looked at Mo, he was fine, bouncing around all happy like a good doggo. And I had a couple of bottles of water and a bowl in my bag for him. Ma'am, he's a husky. You can't shave his coat.
Teenagers these days.
I'm 21. Same.
Don't know what they're talking about. Any vet would tell you you have to shave your dog's fur when it gets hot out.
Not with double-coated dogs. He needs his coat in order to stay cool. I'll spare you the next 10 minutes on repeat the same argument. She kept insisting I was gonna give him a heat stroke. Finally, I had enough and hooked Mo to his leash to take him back home. Guys, this crazy witch followed me to Sweet Neighbor's house. I was really creeped out, but I took Mo up and knocked on the door. Sweet Neighbor was grateful for my help and paid me in my customary batch of baked goods. But before I could walk away, Entitled Lady stormed up to the door. I couldn't make out what she was saying, screaming so loud at Sweet Neighbor. What I did make out in the end,
I'm gonna call the police on you for animal cruelty.
You do that, dear. I'll be here with my darling boy waiting for them.
And she closed the door in her face. The look of self-righteous anger on this woman's face was priceless. She stomps off back to her car and I went back to my house. I sat on my deck watching the lady talk on the phone in her car. Turns out, she actually did call the police. I wasn't actually around when the cop showed up, but Sweet Neighbor told me it was all pretty cut and dry. The officer checked out her pupper, saw nothing wrong, and left. Entitled Lady was furious Mo wasn't taken away and came pounding on Sweet Neighbor's door. Sweet Neighbor didn't even bother opening the door, just told her to leave or she would be reported for trespassing. And we haven't seen heads or tails of the woman since. Edit. Guys! Marky read this story on his channel. I'm freaking out! Well, Marky, same. Yeah, I actually just recently heard about that double coat thing. Pretty handy stuff. Definitely makes me feel a lot better about seeing huskies down here in Texas because, geez Louise, it gets hot here. Anyway, that's a sweet system to have with your neighbor because I feel like it's even better to do it for like baked goods as opposed to doing it for free, because then I guess the sweet old lady neighbor doesn't have to feel like, she's getting a favor. It's just, an agreement. Because given that she's not really able to play with her dog, I'm assuming she's more or less retired or something like that. So it gives her some responsibility and removes the possibility of entitlement to occur in that relationship. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.